Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today is August 3rd, 2025, and this is episode 102 of The Roads Not Taken, which is a weekly series where we go over the news that was unreported, underreported, didn't get the coverage we thought it deserved, or we just found it interesting. And then we go through some questions from y'all. Today is August 3rd, and today is Psychic Day. And unless you knew I was going to say that, this day isn't for you. And on this date in 1943, General George S. Patton slapped his first soldier suffering from battle fatigue. Yes, I said first soldier. Between August 3rd and August 10th, Patton slapped two different soldiers, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? And on to the news. Starting with foreign policy. Russian and U.S. leaders argued on social media, and it led to threats of nuclear war. Aren't you glad the U.S. elected a meme? Zelensky called for regime change in Russia. South Korea's ex-president, who is in jail, resisted questioning by taking off his clothes and laying on the floor. My toddlers didn't even do that. Putin basically told Trump his ultimatum over Ukraine didn't matter and displayed a total lack of respect for Trump. Trump seems to be at a loss on how to deal with Gaza. He's gone from saying a ceasefire was right around the corner to saying Israel needed to finish the job, to promising aid, to reportedly backing a plan for Israel to annex portions of Gaza, to demanding allied nations don't recognize a Palestinian state. At this point, it seems like maybe for the first time, he's starting to understand his limitations. In U.S. news, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel has opened an investigation into Jack Smith for alleged Hatch Act violations. It's important to understand that the U.S. Office of Special Counsel is not the same as a DOJ Special Counsel. The U.S. Office of Special Counsel cannot bring charges. It can recommend disciplinary actions against federal employees and, in theory, refer their findings to DOJ, which could then, in theory, start an investigation. This really seems like part of Trump's flood the zone approach to deal with the relationship with Epstein becoming public. The Supreme Court of the U.S. signaled it might be getting ready to narrow the Voting Rights Act and possibly allow the gerrymandering of districts to dilute black votes. It looks like Republican town halls are going to continue to be confrontational as voters question their representatives about the policies they supported that are hurting their communities. Maxwell's Epstein testimony before Congress has reportedly been delayed indefinitely. Elon Musk reportedly gave millions to GOP-aligned groups, shortly before having enough of Trump and starting his own party-type thing. In cultural news, the Smithsonian removed references about Trump from their impeachment exhibit, because that's a totally normal thing to do. Where are all those people who pretended statues taught history? The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is set to close after Trump's cuts. In science news, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the Infectious Disease Society of America have reportedly been told their help is no longer needed with government vaccine working groups. That's a pretty bad sign for the future of science-based health. A baby was born from a decades-old frozen embryo. It's the oldest baby from storage, more than 30 years. It looks like Trump's bringing back the presidential fitness test. Trump cut UCLA grants for research. He seems to be working overtime to destroy the nation's ability to compete. The Trump administration wants to roll back environmental regulations on cars. If companies do that, they won't be able to export to a lot of markets. In economic news, a massive wave of bad economic reports from the U.S. came out as Trump's economic policies begin showing themselves. Trump seems to be blaming math and those who can do math for his policies. Trump's decision to fire the BLS commissioner over numbers he didn't like might have far-reaching effects as people doubt the accuracy of future reports. Trump's tariffs on Brazil may send coffee prices up even further. Ford saw its profits wiped out by Trump's tariffs. The U.S. automakers are being hit by Trump's tariffs harder than foreign car makers. But American companies will be able to export to countries that don't want to buy their cars tariff-free. 5D chess. In oddities, the EPA director seems to have a weird fixation with gas cans and the safety features they have. Which, I get it, they're annoying, but also, what? Trump wants to build a $200 million ballroom at the White House. Because, of course he does. Trump continues to ramble about $1.99 gas. It's still not happening. On to the Q&A. Our first question. Why do the Democrats have to do so much? Why does it always come back to they need to educate? They need to do this. They need to do that. These people are living what they voted, and you still tell me somebody needs to hold their hand and tell them to vote differently. The Democratic Party is the more progressive party. It's the one that wants to change the status quo. Albeit not by a lot at one time, but that means they have to educate. The Republican Party is constantly telling their base that old, obsolete beliefs are correct. The Democratic Party has to overcome that. They have to educate. Look at the comments under the video about the jobs report. They honestly believe that the norm is a single print of the report with no revisions. That's why. If you want change, you have to change people's thought. Not the law. The law comes after. In a recent video, you made a comment that the U.S. can't be being taken advantage of by other countries because we have 25% of the world's GDP. I feel like I missed something important. Yeah, I said that in passing and probably should have gone deeper. The U.S., depending on the year, controls roughly a quarter of the world's GDP, and we only make up 4% of the population of the world. The idea that there's some kind of economic disparity and that other countries are taking advantage of the U.S. is kind of silly. Since Trump took office, I have wondered how long we will be able to trust or even believe information coming from all government agencies. This concern is for every aspect of life in this country, from the number of measles cases to destructive weather warnings, the economy, jobs, inflation, air quality, water quality, food, safety, and you name it. Then the message goes on for a bit about the firing of the BLS commissioner. Then, what other sources outside the government can be relied on to provide factual information about anything controlled by a federal agency? Well, we're kind of in luck. This is messing with the money. Trump, like all establishment people, has to answer to the money. The economic interests that all politicians have to answer to are going to have an issue with this. So there's going to be immense pressure on Trump to keep those numbers accurate. That being said, we have the ADP for payroll numbers to get a gauge. There's a bunch of different sources that often track similar numbers. If we start to see discrepancies, we'll have to start leaning on those sources. Like with the CDC numbers, we had to look at non-federal health departments to verify early measles cases. They actually lined up pretty well. It really seemed like the CDC was about a week behind. It just might take more research and working with the different sites to get accuracy and accurate numbers. I saw a video about lumber being shortened. The comments made no sense. Is it really because of the tariffs? No. I think I saw the video you're talking about. There was a guy complaining about the studs that were short. He bought the wrong size. Some hardware places sell studs that are pre-cut to accommodate the headers and footers. In short, in the video I saw, the guy that bought them used the wrong studs for his project. Also, measure your lumber even if you aren't cutting it. Just saying. Any lessons learned from the tsunami? 2, actually. 1 is that people still don't know not to call emergency lines for non-emergencies during incidents. The other is that people are talking about how it was a waste. It wasn't. It was practice. Please don't ignore the next alert. Tsunami alerts are structured in a way to provide early warning so people can get out. If you wait and aren't certain about it, you won't be able to get out. Hi, Belle. I'm disheartened by the Trump administration's continued dismantling of public goods, including public television, public radio, and public education. How do I break into community organizing to counteract this? If you don't think community organizing is the best way to combat the Trump administration on this issue, what is and how do I get involved? Locally, state level, nationally? Thank you. Community organizing is almost always the answer to political issues of any kind. We have an entire playlist on the main channel called Community Networking. It's worth reviewing and will give you answers to almost every question you have. That being said, the one thing that I've seen is that the key part is to get started, and it doesn't matter where. Once you start, you meet people in other groups and you see other causes. Based on your initial list, I'd look into joining a group centered on supporting your local library. There will be a lot of overlap with the things that you specifically mentioned. If that doesn't exist, reach out to your local NPR station while it exists. If you don't have any of those things, invite all the like-minded people that you can think of over for a barbecue. You will find your crew. I mean, I live in one of the reddest areas that you could probably imagine, and there's groups here. They exist. So, that looks like it. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.